Iowa State's come here. And it's okay. We're always finding guys. We found Eli. We found Devin. We'll find others.
The portal world giveth and taketh, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it does give you a chance to turn around pretty quickly. You can do it in a couple ways, though. The portal, and I kind of talked to Patino about this with how New Mexico State's doing their rebuild and how UNM's doing their rebuild. Real quick, I got a comment that YouTube wasn't working. It should be on now. I don't know why the YouTube channel wasn't working, but it shows me now that YouTube is on. So
Dre. Hi, Dre.
Yep, we got a hi Frank here.
Yeah, there we go.
So the portal world can kind of make you think you can turn it around quickly. And I will say that, with Lobo basketball, the 3-year turnaround that Patino had, he brought in Jamal Mashburn Jr., and who followed him from Minnesota and hit on Jalen House from year one before NIL, by the way. They were both here before NIL, and they were the foundation and stayed for 3 years. That's really uncommon in the portal era to get 2 transfers that stay for 3 years each and are your pillars. What you normally have is you get a transfer that comes in for 1, maybe 2 years. Morris Udeze is an example.
Yep.
He was a 1-year Lobo. You get stuff just like Alec. The Aggies are kind of seeing some of that, right? They had a huge roster turnover, obviously, when he started because of what happened there and what he took over. But in his second year, you would think, okay, now he's going to have 5, 6, 7 players back, and he really doesn't. They're not the key players anyway. So it's really hard to keep the players, too. It's not just about getting new players and thinking you can do a quick turnaround. It's about trying to keep the players, too, to go year in and year out instead of every year trying to turn the thing over.
Well, if you just look at the Lobo team that we have, especially in the starting lineup, you have Donovan for a 3rd year.
Yeah.
You have Amsiel for a 2nd year. You have Nelly for a 2nd year. You have True for a 2nd year. You kept 4, which is pretty good.
So if you can, this isn't because plenty of you will give me crap about this. I was about to say a different word. Crap's good enough.
It's YouTube. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah, I can say whatever I want. And sometimes I do. They're going to give me a hard time about this, but Patino's turnaround and the way he's built this over 3 years has kind of hit every note just right because he got transfers, but he also recruited 2 or 3 freshmen a year. And you see the best player on this year's team is Donovan Dent, a freshman who's in his 3rd year. Braden Applehawn's in his 3rd year is coming along. True Washington's a starter in his 2nd year as a freshman.
And True's making that jump. Yeah. Everyone was like, I hope he makes the jump, and he is making that jump.
And that kind of stuff is what people said, oh, man, I hate this new transfer portal world because you don't see that stuff anymore. Well, you're still seeing it actually here, and that's why I think if you can split, maybe not 50-50, but if you can do about 1/3 of high school recruiting and maybe 2/3 of the transfer portal world now, I think in basketball anyway, that's a good mix. I think in football, maybe it needs to be more 50-50 because you can't bring in 40 new guys every year.
No, it's unless your name is Deion Sanders, right? You can do it. But we had the 2nd most transfers in football last year. We had 42 of them. And we had 59 new guys. And of the 59 new guys, 16 of them were offensive linemen, which is insane. And we went from a top 5 offensive line, they all left, to a top 5 offensive line.
Yeah.
And we're going to lose a lot of these guys again.
It's hard to do, though.
It's the nature of the beast. Right. Here's the thing, and I loved our offensive line. They are a top 5 offensive line. The reality is they're probably a top 15 offensive line. Devin's escapability made them a top 5 offensive line. Because we led the nation.
Devin was one of the best offensive line weapons you could have.
And listen, UNM led the nation in fewest, not just fewest sacks, fewest tackles for loss against.
Really? I didn't know that.
26.
All right.
In the last 4 games, we had 2 tackles for loss against us for 2 yards. That's it. And really, it was the spotting of the ball. It almost was 0.
You actually probably know this off the top of your head. How many games into it was that first sack? And it was a sack where he ran out of bounds.
The sack was game 5. He ran out of bounds.
About 2 yards short. 1 yard.
It was actually game 6 because he was Air Force, right? He runs out of bounds. Air Force. And he actually sticks the ball over the line, but they didn't give it to him. They gave him the spot where he stepped, and so.
And if a runner runs out of bounds behind the line of scrimmage or a quarterback, it is a sack.
I will tell you the 5 sacks where he ran out of bounds, put the ball out, they marked it 1 yard short. The second one, he did the same thing. They marked it 1 yard short. He had a intentional grounding that was 14 yards.
So there's 3 of the 5 sacks.
The 4th one is at Colorado State when the whistle blew and he stopped.
Oh yeah.
That was one. So the only legitimate sack was was here, Wyoming, the last play when we fumbled.
Okay.
And that one's almost not a sack because he fumbled it forward, and the guy recovered it, but he recovered it just behind the line of scrimmage. Had it gone beyond the line of scrimmage, it would have been a run for 1 yard.
That's crazy to think he almost
had zero.
Yeah, he could have. Had zero.
Really easy.
So, all right, let's see what some of these other comments are, Frank.
Yeah,
I know you got some stuff to do.
I'm here. Let's go.
Anybody
let's go, people.
Trashing players for leaving completely wrong and ridiculous? I mean, I agree with that.
Uh-huh.
I get why you're frustrated by it too. Let's see what this one is because I saw that other one. Let's see. Let's go Lobos.
I can see Jeff jumping in the portal. By the way,
can we pay Gary Patterson enough, or is that wishful thinking?
I mean, here's what
I have no idea is the answer anymore.
So we were paying Danny, and I literally, I'm not in the room. If they literally have a room, so I'm literally not in the room, right? But I'm not in the room. But Danny was making $750, I think maybe $8 by the time he left. And everyone's like, "Well, how are we going to get a coach? We're only paying $800." And then we somehow paid $1.2 million, and assistant salaries of $1.8 million in order to get Bronco.
And they were about to increase that.
Exactly.
We don't know the specifics. I get it.
So, do we have enough to get Nick Saban out of retirement?
Probably
not. But we have enough to be a competitive salary. Now, I know this. Someone's going to record this and run it back. Where the hell how Utah State found $42 million to pay over 6 years?
That's what's interesting.
You want to talk about kicking the can down the road?
Yeah.
They are banking. That is, they're writing a check that they're hoping they're Pac-10, 12, 7, 8, whatever the hell
they're hoping that TV deal.
That TV deal is
on the far extreme end that people are projecting.
Well, what they told me, well, we're looking at $14 million. I'm like, are you really looking?
You might be hoping for $14 million, but I don't think you're looking at $14 million.
That doesn't count the $2 million they're paying for Broncos 55.56 every month for the next 36 months, 36 years. What is he, Bobby Bonilla? 36 months. And it doesn't count any incentives. And I'll get news for you. It doesn't count after 2 years when someone tries to pull them out of there.
Right.
And they got to renegotiate and re-up it again. So more power to them. $42 billion is what more power to them.
So, Frank, I see across the way here, we got this new trophy. We were talking about it a little while ago. Why in the world was there not this is two student sections kind of informally coming together to create a trophy, which I think is a cool thing. But I am curious, why wasn't there already a trophy?
Since it's been years, Paul Krebs is no longer working here, I feel comfortable in saying this story. So we had the Rio Grande Rivalry Trophy, right? Which was done
for all sports.
For all sports. It was an all sports thing. The points were idiotic because it was like 1.5 points. Like, just make them even numbers, please, people. So I don't want to have to do math. I do enough math in my life. I don't want to do more math. So they had that for 2 years, but then it was agreed upon that we're going to keep doing it. But we won it every year. There was 1 year we had to win a baseball game at the end to hold on to it. We won it every year. At some point, Mario, the AD for New Mexico State, called Paul and was like, "We got to stop. Can you get your guy to stop publishing all the stuff? We don't do it. We don't do it anymore. Can you have him stop?" And it was me. And Paul's like, "I need you to stop. We don't want to do it anymore." So we stopped.
And that was the year they won.
And they're like, "Hey, where is that trophy?" We're like, "We don't know where the hell it is."
I do remember that.
Right? So that happened. So there hasn't been a trophy for it. Back when Danny was here, they played for the Maloof Trophy. I think that was a football thing. But they've never done a singular trophy. And the hard thing for basketball is you can't do a trophy if you play twice.
Yeah, and they were doing it twice a year until this year.
And so if you only do it once, I can see it. Now, this isn't – the two schools have not agreed to anything.
Right. This is actually three students. It's not even two student sections.
Yeah.
It's literally three students, two from UNM, one from NMSU. And I think it's cool. I like the gesture. I hope it sticks. But
can I tell you what I really like? There has been so much vitriol between the two fan bases. And we all know what happened. We don't need to rehash it. There's been ugly incidences. I got hit with a battery down at New Mexico State. I got hit with a battery right in the side.
I was trying to hit someone else. Sorry.
Like, that stuff's not great, right? It's just not. The funny thing about all of it is the two departments get along so well. We work so good together. Mario was in our offices yesterday. He needed passes. He came
Mario
by.
used to work here. I think
Yeah, he did.
A lot of people know that.
Kevin Hendricks was here, and he's like, "Hey, Kevin," like he told us, he's like, "Hey, Kevin, our FAR, does he need to sit? Can he sit with us?" And it's, yeah, no, have him sit there. Like we work together to make things as easy as possible for everybody. We really do, and so I want the rivalry to be a rivalry. I want there to be some intense dislike. I don't want there to be some of the stuff there is.
Right.
And so
I think we all know the line. It's sort of like the old definition of all the other stuff, right?
Yeah.
Of porn and everything. It's like
can't define it. But
yeah, but you know what? We see it. Like you can get really nasty in a rivalry and it still be okay, but once it hits a certain line, which is just total negativity for like reasons that aren't even about the game or about the sport.
And it came last year with the New Mexico Bowl and all that stuff when New Mexico State was here. Like I felt like, especially my office, we've been over backwards to make sure Michael Navarrete at New Mexico State, who's an Albuquerque guy. Like we made sure he had everything. We didn't ban them for the import facility.
Right. That
wasn't
whoever
us.
was in charge of that was not as some thought.
Yeah, and so like we tried to do stuff. It was funny too because Jerry Kill scorched the earth afterwards. And he's like, I'm not apologizing for anything. Right. And then the next Monday he called and apologized to Eddie.
Right. That was
it's so, but it was like I was happy for New Mexico State to make it. Like it doesn't bother me. They don't live in my head. It doesn't. Right. There's New Mexico State fans when the UNMSU thing happens. There's one New Mexico State fan that's always like, well, here comes Frank to tell people that he can't do his job. And I usually just wish him a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Hope your gravy tasted good. Like, it's funny. It's funny to me. So the trophy thing, it's cool. I have no issue with it. It's easier when you only play once.
So I don't know where it's going to reside. It would be kind of cool if it did kind of stay with the student sections doing it every year. Yeah, but I don't know how you then present it or like where it resides. So anyway, that's one thing to figure out. But I'm glad they're trying it. And other than
I think the gesture is great.
Yeah, the gesture is great.
Hey, we need to. And listen, after last week, if you watched any of the football last weekend, the flag planting,
it's nasty in a lot of places,
and it was ugly. It really wasn't. I was like, I work in college football, and I'm just like, this is not a good representation of what this is.
And I'll tell you what's different about those rivalries and this rivalry is I will, in all honesty, I think the players and coaches and I guess athletic departments for the most part haven't always been the ones that have made it nasty. No. It's us fans. It's guys that went to New Mexico State. It's guys that went to UNM. It's the people really outside of the team. The teams have sort of backed off because I think the fans have taken care of the get it to a nasty point.
Yeah, and like when we played at New Mexico State last year in football, after that game, like it was fine.
Yeah.
Both teams were fine. I heard Tony Sanchez came up to me and was like, what kind of fourth quarter was that? I'm like, yeah, no kidding. And it's fine. It needs to be a good, healthy rivalry, but it needs to be fun. Move the other team, do that kind of stuff, but
and there'll be a lot of that here. There'll be a lot of that here.
Yeah,
it should sell out.
Yeah. Yes, I think we were 300 short this morning or something like that, so it should be a sellout.
All right, I'm going to let whoever is still wanting to do any pregame stuff. You can go and listen to Robert Portnoy now. They did just announce both teams. Yes, really quick, Nelly's hair! ! 5 times. He did cut his hair. So Nelly Jr. Joseph Hair, there he is, straight across right now.
Oh yeah,
is no more. So that could be the headliner tomorrow in the Journal. So.
Nothing for me. I love this rivalry game. Always competitive.
Yeah, hit show.
Kill behaved like a.
See where it says show in the middle? Hover over it. Yeah.
Oh, right there.
Yeah, hit that, and it comes up here.
Oh, look at that! I love this. Yeah, it will be rocking.
Yeah, it should be pretty loud, and I can tell you it's fuller right now. It's 16 minutes before the game, and it's fuller right now than any other 16 minutes before the game so far this year.
So Dre says all that's been in the past. Here's what I would tell you. We're going through what they went through football-wise.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not great. What would be awesome would be for both teams to make bowl games. And for both teams to be in that thing. And if you can get both teams to where they are, 2-10 is out of the question, and you're just a little better and you're fighting for bowl games each year.
Yeah.
At that point, it's hard to move that game to the end of the year because the basketball game has to reside in this time frame. And so it's hard to move that football game to the end of the year. It's cold and those kinds of things. It does sell well. And people come out in September, they watch that game both ways.
If both teams are still good at the end of the year, too, they're playing for a lot more, the game's better.
Yeah.
But there have been times that there was one time, way back when, September 11th.
The 2001 year.
Yeah, it got moved to the end, and one team was
destroyed them.
and UNM just killed NMSU because NMSU had a horrible season.
They had a horrible season, if I remember right. They had a lot of injuries. They were done.
And it wasn't even a conference game or anything at that point. So, anyway. All right, Aggies Lobos coming up in about 15 minutes. Frank, thank you for joining me on the pregame and going over all the good stuff we went over. And I guess follow coverage, obviously, on social media, but as well, you can follow ABQJournal and all that good stuff.
You can follow me on social media. I was once the runner-up to the runner-up. I was third for best Twitter in Albuquerque.
See?
It was Jeff, the Journal, which it was a Journal's poll, and Jeff and the Journal win.
Yeah, I know, right?
Shocker. And I was third, which I considered first. So there you go.
All right. Thanks, gentlemen. Great show. We got another thanks. Thank you, guys. And follow all the coverage. Game's about to start. Should be fun.